And it's our attitude that is the inner atmosphere. It's what creates the weather, so to speak, in our own consciousness. So as we begin our class today, I'd like for you to check in with what is your inner weather right now? What is your attitude? What are you feeling? Are there predominant thoughts in your mind? Are you worried about exams, or are you busy thinking? Are you triggered? Are there any strong emotions that are present? What are the feelings? So as we begin our class today, I want to begin with you're aware of your inner reality. So go ahead and check now. If you want to make some notes about your perspective, because it's this inner attitude that's the true posture. Earlier in the course, we talked about Patanjali's 8 limbs, and one of the limbs of that is asana. In the non-dual tradition of Shaivism, it said that the true asana, the true posture, is the attitude that we hold, because it's this attitude that shapes our experience. Let me read you a quote from the Buddha. The Buddha said, "What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create." So whatever it is that we think, that's what we become. There was a well-known book written in the West. It was called "As a Man Thinks, So He Becomes." What we feel attracts. Feeling is a vibration, an energy, and that what we notice is that whatever our feeling is, whatever our vibration is, attracts like-minded people to us. So for example, if I'm in the consciousness of being a victim, things happen to me, then I will attract, through the power of this feeling, people to me who will create the experience of being a victim. So we learn to be careful of what we feel and to somehow manage that. If we're constantly worrying and living in fear and anxiety, we'll create experiences, we'll attract to us situations that give us the actual experience of those feelings. Imagination. It's very powerful. That what we can conceive and believe we can achieve. What we can imagine in our mind, we can become. If we want to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a video producer, it begins with a thought. And we continue to ruminate over that thought and have images of it coming into reality. Eventually it manifests as it. So we can develop this capacity to imagine. Once we have a particular desire that we want to manifest, we can use affirmations to affirm the reality of that which we desire. We can use vision boards. We can get images of the things that we want to manifest in our life and create a board and look at it each day. So this imagination is very powerful. In the tradition of Shaivism, we call this bhavana, creative contemplation, where we imagine the life that we want to live, or we imagine what it is that we want to manifest, and holds thoughts in our mind, thoughts held in mind, manifest in kind. So whatever we create in our imagination, that becomes a reality for us. If we imagine fearful things, that's what will manifest for us as well. Now there's no outward condition so good that a terrible attitude can't ruin it. You know, there's a blues song that says, "If I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all." Now clearly this attitude is going to manifest negative things in life. And on the other hand, there's no outer condition in life that can't be improved with a great attitude. You know, during World War II, there was the Nazi concentration camps, and one of the prisoners was a fellow by the name of Viktor Frankl. He lost his wife and his relatives in the camp. They were murdered, they were killed. But he maintained a very positive attitude. This was the one thing that he could control that enabled him to survive the camps. And he's written, he said, everything that can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So this is the one freedom that we have. No one can take it from us. No matter what the situation is, we can always choose how to see it. We can always choose the perspective to see whatever situation it is in a way that uplifts us. Lifts us out of the sense of being a victim to one who's empowered and can live in freedom no matter what the external circumstances. I truly admire Viktor Frankl for this teaching and the manifesting this truth in his own life. So the world is the way we see it. And our present reality is an expression of our deepest held convictions. Let's talk about the simple act of perception. Neuroscience tells us that in any given moment there are 10 trillion bits of information available to us through sight and sound and feeling. And the mind is capable of processing about 2,000 bits of information at any given time. So the way perception works is that we have a particular belief, a particular attitude, a particular perspective of the way we think reality is. And the function of the senses is to go out and choose out of these 10 trillion bits of information, the 2,000 bits of information that will affirm our deepest held convictions. We're really only perceiving a tiny, infinitesimally small percentage of the data that's available to us. And it's the function of the mind to choose and to construct a reality that conforms to our belief of what it is. The practice of jnana yoga, for example, is the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of understanding and seeing things in a different way. Instead of seeing the world through the eyes of I'm a victim, we can see the world as consciousness. We can see the universe as a benevolent force that manifests our deepest held convictions. So if our life isn't working the way we would like it to work, we can simply change our understanding of the universe and manifest the universe according to our own dreams. In any situation, there's always a perspective that's uplifting. We can always find the silver lining in every experience. So I would invite you to begin looking for the good, the true, the beautiful in your reality. Instead of looking for faults and failings and reasons for not succeeding, begin to train your mind to look for the good in every situation. Begin to look for the truth, the ultimate truth. Begin to look for the beautiful in every situation and tailor your thinking to uplift yourself. There's a series of books written by someone by the name of Norman Vincent Peale, which talked about the power of positive thinking. So I'm not talking about living our lives through rose-colored glasses or something, but I am saying that we can choose the thoughts that we want to live by. We can have a positive vision. Because a positive vision of life, a positive attitude, is its own justification, it's its own reward. When we see the world through dark filters, through sunglasses, it's darkened. Our feeling expresses that. By having a positive outlook, a positive view of life, we feel it. We have good feelings within us. As we live our life, I encourage you to begin noticing those transitional moments when we go from a good feeling, we have a downward shift. And as we meditate and become more sensitive to the inner reality, we learn to live our life centered in our being. So we become sensitive to those moments that we shift our attitude, when we become negative. And we can begin shifting that negative thought, that negative attitude. So I like to think of meditation as sort of dress rehearsal for life, as practice for life. As we meditate and we notice certain thoughts arising, we get to the point of choice to allow this thought to manifest or to not manifest. In the same way as we're living our daily lives, I'm going to invite you to begin noticing the shifts in your feelings. And whenever you have a downward shift, a negative experience, change it. We've talked a little bit about introjection, so we're learning how to substitute other thoughts or use mantras, use various practices that we've discussed in order to shift our attitude to one that's uplifting. There's a Chinese scripture that I particularly love. It's called the Tao Te Ching. It says to live with the Tao, which is the name for the ultimate reality. To live with the Tao is to live with skill and attention so that our life crackles with energy. Does your life crackle with energy? Do we need a cup of coffee in order to crackle with energy, or can we live from the place of inspiration? You know, it's possible to go from inspiration to inspiration in our life. Most of us go from desire to desire. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I want to do this, I want to do that. We have desires. But it is possible to get in touch with our own intuition and go from inspiration to inspiration. You see, the mind is as vast as the universe, and we can choose whatever we choose to manifest. I've said before, what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. One of the key factors in a happy life is to learn to be content. Most of us satisfy a desire. As soon as that desire is fulfilled, we're on to the next desire. So our life is a continual pursuit from desire to desire. It's said in the Talmud that a wise man is one who is content with what he has. Instead of focusing on what we don't have, focus on what you have and learn to be grateful for that. So we're going to end this session with a meditation on contentment itself. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, turn within, and let your worldly desires simply dissolve. Find something in your life that you're grateful for. Hold that feeling in mind and have a sense of gratitude. Once we're grateful, the natural offspring of that feeling of gratitude is contentment. Remember a moment when you were completely content, satisfied with everything, needing nothing. Have you had that experience? So I invite you now to close your eyes and feel content. In this moment, I have everything that I need. I am supremely content. And we'll do this start, and we'll do this practice for 2 minutes. And so as we close this session, I'm going to invite you to practice contentment this week. Be content with what you have. And don't be feeding your desires, but rest in contentment. God bless.